name is Everett Wilford, and I'm the Senior Principal Analyst for Applied Intelligence at Omdia, and I'm today's moderator for our panel on cracking the smart car, what truly defines them. Now, no industry has undergone transformation quite like automotive, and the process is still ongoing, and by many measures, early. A few figures to sort of look at on how the smart car is genuinely advancing on all fronts. First, Edge AI. Omdia forecasts a 20% annual growth rate from 2022 through 2028. Almost 1 billion Edge AI devices shipping into automotive at that final year. Connectivity. Ward's Intelligence suggests the total number of connected cars on the road worldwide is going to grow 5 times through 2034. That's 400% growth over that period. Software-defined vehicles. In an industry survey, 72% of respondents suggest that 50% of cars sold by 2033 will be software-defined. That's in a decade. Astonishing figures in an astonishing industry. So I'd like to dive right in. I'd like to first introduce our panelists. I'd like them to introduce themselves, please, starting with Danny.
Hi, I'm Danny Shapiro, Vice President of Automotive at NVIDIA.
Hi, I am Maite Bezerra, Principal Analyst for Ward's Intelligence, focusing on software-defined vehicles.
Hi, I'm Rob Botticher, Director of Technology for Automotive Manufacturing Vertical for Amazon Web Services.
Hello, I'm Maria Anhalt, CEO of Electrobit.
Hello, my name is Remco Timmer. I'm Vice President of Product Management for Here Technologies.
Thank you all for being with us today. The big question first, what makes a smart car smart? Is it the connectivity? Is it advanced compute? Is it software? Is it access to data? Maria, your perspective on this.
Yeah, smart for me is the ability to think, to learn, to do things that are done in a repetitive way by a human being, so she or he can enjoy the experience in the car, in the vehicle, and do something different. And of course, that kind of smartest is associated with artificial intelligence. But beyond artificial intelligence, we also have the connectivity within the vehicle, vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to environment, and how do we integrate the entire digital ecosystem into the overall experience. So if you wish, software is at the core of all these technologies. So to me, the smartness is the ability to use software in a very creative, innovative way to unleash new value for the consumer, a new experience.
Danny, AI has been mentioned. I think you might have something to say.
I'm familiar with those letters. Yeah, so we see, the whole pipeline of developing, from designing to engineering to manufacturing to retail, even being part of this whole smart car revolution. And artificial intelligence, and specifically generative AI, is playing a major role in transforming how automakers handle each of those individual workflows. And so I think that's what's really quite exciting. So it's not just about computing in the car, something we play in and are very involved with. Many automakers all over the world and made many announcements today on that front. But it's the hardware plus software that is every single department within the automaker has also gone through this whole new wave of intelligence and using generative AI to create better, more efficient designs or more efficient manufacturing processes, as well as safer cars. So we kind of really look at it holistically across every single department within an automaker.
Remco, from your perspective here.
Yeah, I think smart for us also means being informed. And here, of course, creates digital map content. And this is a really nice way of efficiently encoding all kinds of information that is relevant for all vehicles. It's helping every individual vehicle to be as smart as possible on the road, being informed with what is relevant for them. But also, and I think that's also very important, actually share that information then amongst all other vehicles and really benefit from collective knowledge amongst vehicles. And as a consequence, the entire system becomes smarter.
Okay. And Rob?
Yeah, the way we like to think about it at Amazon is really working backwards from our customers' problems. And we really think about it from a consumer experience perspective. And what does that mean for the consumer of the vehicle? So we think about the in-cabin experience. So how do we think about making that more intelligent with respect to the IVI systems or even the safety systems inside that vehicle? And then we take it really one step further, and then how do we help our OEMs, how do we help the suppliers in the industry build more intelligent and smarter services for those vehicles and throughout the entire supply chain and value chain for the vehicle. And we really think here is it's really about data. I agree with the other panelists around Gen AI really being core to this, and really core to some of the more smart technology is data, and how is the data that's being collected by the vehicle and how we're using that data across the entire supply chain. So we work with customers like BMW, Toyota to collect that data, build data hubs, and then use that data across the entire supply chain. So we, again, think about it from the vehicle in-cabin experience, but also now how do you use the intelligence of that vehicle to help the entire value chain.
Rob, one thing I really like about that answer is you say specifically what is being made more intelligent. And that's a question I often have when people speak with hand-wavingly about making something more intelligent. What is being made smarter in automotive in general? Where is this intelligence being added, and what is it replacing or augmenting, and what knock-on effects is it having as far as, for example, purchasing strategies? Maite, I could ask you to speak on that.
Well, so many things are becoming smarter. So if you look at the vehicle itself, we have the architecture of the vehicle being transformed. So before, every vehicle functionality will have its electronic control unit, so its own ECU. And now we are migrating to consolidating hardware. So you have virtual ECUs running very powerful SoCs, capable of running machine learning and AI at the edge, and also powering several displays with high resolution. When you think about consolidation, you also have to think about how the sensors in the vehicle are communicating with these virtual ECUs and the domains and zones. So we also are migrating to modern in-vehicle networking solutions that enable safe, fast communication with high bandwidth, with cybersecurity in mind, of course. In terms of software, we are migrating for this monolithic approach that the software is highly dependent on hardware to hardware abstraction and slicing the software into chunks. So if you have, smaller pieces of software, so microservices and functions, you are capable of making changes and update in these smaller parts instead of having to update the full software platform. And last but not least, the cloud. So instead of just using the clouds to provide connected services on top of what is available in the car, now we are talking about cloud-first approaches. So development environments being made in the cloud, available so to provide collaboration between players. You also have development that is not really dependent on the hardware. So it's a full transformation. We're talking about the digitalization of the whole vehicle lifecycle.
Yeah, we see this challenge that we're doing with the smart cards. Really, there's two computers. There's the one in the car, but there's the one in the cloud. And they're both dependent. And there's definitely an advantage to having the same architecture, if you can, between the two. There's this constant training and deployment, but collection of data and transmission back. So I think one of the things that really is smarter is the development process. It's never going to end. The software for your car will never be complete. Just like your phone, right? Your expectation is you're going to get these updates. Your car, first of all, I don't know why you'd buy a car today that couldn't get updates, just like you wouldn't buy a phone that was fixed. So I think we're going to evolve to that point, and the development process of collecting data, iterating on that software, being able to simulate and test that software for safety before it even goes in the car, that whole process is key and is getting a lot smarter too. So.
Maria, from Electrobit's perspective.
So I absolutely agree. So the what? So all of this smartness is across every aspect that we have in a software-defined vehicle. And to build on what Danny said, it's also how we are doing things, where a lot of the smartness is coming. So the ability to approach the vehicle like Tesla did is from a system that can be updatable, and it's a living thing over a period of time. It's a new approach that makes a vehicle smart. If you take Sony's approach, like in the last few years, to connect entertainment and in-vehicle software to create a totally different emotional experience in the connectiveness, this is also a very different smart approach of how to include adjacent industry. So we are looking into the technology and all of the aspects of the mobility ecosystem itself, as well as how we are developing these technologies.
Remco, from here's perspective on this.
Yeah, I think a lot has already been said, but I think what is really also interesting is to look at why you would add smartness, right, along these two sides of the story, of the coin. On one hand in the vehicle, on the other hand in the cloud. And I think in the vehicle, of course, you're trying to please the end user experience, right, make an ever more personalized end user experience. Understanding the user's intent, understanding how they behave in the vehicle to then adjust to that continuously and create more relevant services for that user in time, in place. I think that's really critical to add smartness. It's also to support the vehicle in its decision making, advanced driver assistance systems, autonomous driving functions. That's where you need to add a lot of smartness. And I think in the overall development, it's trying to be optimized to deliver as effectively as possible what the user needs and what the vehicle needs at any given moment in time. So I think, yeah, smartness, I fully agree with the rest of the panelists, both in the cloud and, let's say, the product development side of things, as well as in the vehicle to enhance that user experience and the machine capability.
So we've touched a bit on the what and the why. I'm interested in looking a little bit at the how now, and as far as we look at the future of added intelligence, is the trend towards more vertical integration or towards collaboration? So will OEMs be doing more buying or more making? And what will drive that? What differentiation will be a major factor in this? Rob, we start with you.
Yeah, I think the answer here is really, it's going to be both. You know, and what we're seeing is this is really a good question for the OEMs as well. And where do they want to differentiate with their vehicle offerings and their in-cab experience and their entire value chain. So we really think about it from an OEM perspective and where the OEMs differentiate. We're also thinking about from a supplier perspective where they want to differentiate as well. And so what we're really seeing is an opening up of smart vehicle technology with regard to things like software-defined vehicles. And with SDV and software-defined vehicles, what we're really seeing, you know, is that we're creating, you know, common and open interfaces like SOFI, et cetera, within the vehicle that allow different suppliers to interact differently than they have before, right? The idea of having just a closed box system, you know, where it was one component, didn't really interact with other components inside the vehicle. I think those days, right, are that's what we see changing. We see that really opening up. So I think what we'll see is OEMs will think about the areas they really want to differentiate. We're going to see suppliers think about areas where they really want to differentiate, and we're going to see this, you know, blending across different domains. Like, for example, you know, within an autonomous system or an ADAS system in a vehicle, you have to be connected to the braking system. You have to be connected to the other major components inside the vehicle. So we really do see the answer here is both, and we're really seeing the advent of, you know, software-defined vehicles and really open architectures really changing the paradigm here.
Okay. Maria, from your perspective at Electrobit?
Absolutely. So I don't even see the vertical that strong any longer because the boundaries are blurring. So we're coming from hundreds of ECUs that are not even given any longer like this. Mm-hmm. And then we went to the domains of these classical infotainment and chassis and powertrain, etc. But if you look now in the motion control, which is a blending between chassis and ADAS, we're talking about HPCs where you have the infotainment and the ADAS coming together. To your point, things are blending together, whether it will be one brain or three HPCs, we don't know, but we don't have these verticals so strictly separated. I think we need to think more into layers of separating the hardware from the software, separating the layer of the platform from the applications running on this, to enable, to Danny's point on this experience in the connectivity of the smartphone, that we have independent life cycles and have the industry parallelize development and integrate consistently through architecture. So it's more layering and collaborating across the ecosystem than a strict vertical dependencies.
Danny, is that your experience as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, is it horizontal, is it vertical? It's both, right?
Yes.
I think the key thing is the collaboration, right? And so if you think about, like, in the vehicle, you have a chip, you have a module, you have the software, you have then the sensors and the apps, right? So that vertical part, it's vertically collaborated, right? So we're jointly working with our automakers at every single level of that. But then there's this collaboration, you know, as I alluded to earlier, like, we're involved in helping with the design of the cars. All the simulation for engineering, the manufacturing. And so there's benefits from having a single data source of that vehicle through all those different silos within that automaker. Used to be, it would be reinvented, the data exported and re-imported by a different group, and they'd be in a different city in Germany or in Japan or something. And so we're helping to really help streamline that workflow. And then it even goes into retail. So having a car configurator and being able to simulate the in-vehicle experience that is in a vehicle that doesn't exist yet, but people can actually take it for a virtual test drive because all that software has been developed, the hardware may be not available yet, but that's simulated, and somebody could put it on a VR headset and experience that car in the future, and it would look and feel and behave like the real car. So we're able to really cut across collaboration through every single department.
Remco, do you feel this collaboration in data is something that here is involved in as well?
Yeah, I think a lot, right? I think what we try to do is, of course, where possible, sort of agree upon data standards so that stuff becomes more interoperable. It's easy